everyone. Welcome to HOA Fight Club. I'm Raylene Shapano. So we have been working as stakeholders in the state of Washington to create and draft good legislation that would protect homeowners and give them the protections for due process and many things. I can actually share my screen with you and show you a few things that we have been working on. Just give me 1 second, because I want you to see that we have been working on a lot of things. We asked for many protections to be added to the laws, but we're not getting them. So these are the items that we were told that would be in the bill. I'm going to let you read through them, but required training for property managers and about fair housing laws and all of that kind of stuff, to educate boards, to provide Washington State Fair Housing Commission options to help homeowners if they're in need. We want HOA financial fraud prevention, require that homeowners annually have to budget an income with the expenses and require that the income and expense information included in the invoices. So everything's included in the records. And there is a few more I'm going to show you here. This is from another group called Rise Up. This was their list. Provide a free mailing list for homeowners with the members' names. Remove allowance for executive meetings. All members should be aware of everything we're all participating in. All HOA and board information should be obtained freely by the members. Require relevant and HOA documents and rules be shared with potential members. All votes of the board and the committee must be actively reported within 45 days. I actually think they should be, like I said, no activity should happen without the members knowing within a few days. 45 days could almost be too long. All information should be available by the member at the HOA office, at the property management company. So we got a copy of the bill that was drafted, and I'm going to share that with you because I think it's important for you to see what they came up with. If I can find that link, give me 1 second. So here's the new section they wanted to add. An officer or board member must complete a training course regarding federal and state housing laws within 60 days of taking office at intervals of no longer than 3 years. And I just have to, you have all these things. First of all, this is the bill that was introduced to us for all the things that we asked for. And it really bothers me that there's still no governance or accountability. What if a board chooses not to do this? What if they ignore it? So is there a penalty? Well, no, there's no penalties in the law still. The other thing, so I wrote back to the legislators, and this was my comment to them. Homeowners seem to be last on the list for consumer protections due to all the profiteering companies that have been allowed to promote and increase their personal wealth off the backs of homeowners. There isn't even a warning that states anyone purchasing into these corporations is giving up their constitutional rights. What happened to the truth in lending? I guess as long as the big corporations are making billions, homeowners can suffer. Quoting Christine Gregoire, this is a civil rights issue and a constitutional rights issue. Property is supposed to be protected under the Washington Constitution, yet legislators never do what's right. When do homeowners get the protections they need? There are bills coming to the floor for more townhomes, which will be under the condo laws. How can we ignore these rights for the profit of a trades group? When do we make history and say, not in Washington state, we will not allow this to continue? When do we do what is right, what is just, and what is fair? So that part was quoted by Christine Gregoire. For when they had the rights for gay rights marriage, because they felt that marriage equality is a civil rights issue of their time, and what they did was right and fair and just. So Senator Peterson, I had to go back and look at his history, since he is the one that actually introduced the gay marriage rights as a constitutional issue. And if you go, I'm going to move me over here now so you can still see, but if you go to Jamie Peterson and you look at his stuff, so he fought for the rights of marriage. He felt that it was very important that those marriage rights were, that the people had domestic partnership isn't the same as having the marriage rights. It's an inadequate substitute. So this is where I get concerned, because property rights, I went to the Constitution, and property rights are actually protected in the Washington State Constitution. And I believe education is very important. So I went to the Washington State Constitution and I started doing the research on that, which I've done many, many times. But I think that it's important for us to look at the Constitution and see what is in the Constitution. First of all, the supreme law of the land. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Well, covenants of HOA and condo associations are over the US and state constitution, which is a constitutional violation in itself. Personal rights, no rights shall be deprived. No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Well, in HOA, there is no due process. Excuse me, it's very warm here. So there is no due process in HOA. You have the right to be heard only if the board determines that you have that right. Freedom of speech, all that kind of stuff. But Section 7, invasion of private affairs or home prohibited. No person shall be disturbed in the private affairs of his home invaded without authority of law. The board has no law. They're not the law. So you can't give special privileges to corporations to do anything that another corporation can't do. So let's look at Boeing. Boeing is a corporation. Boeing cannot foreclose on your own home because they give you fines and fees. If they do that, they have to take you to court, just like any other normal person would have to do. Let's go to the next one. I did a lot of research on the Constitution, but I'm just going to quickly go through these so that you can see. Special privileges. No law shall be passed granting to any citizen, class of citizens, or corporations other than municipal privileges or immunities, which upon the same terms shall not equally belong to all citizens or corporations. I also look at Section 14, excessive bail, fines, and punishment. Excessive bail shall not be required. Excessive fines imposed, nor cruel punishment inflicted. If the legislators don't believe that it is cruel and unusual punishment to take somebody's home for a $50 fine that they have no due process and been offered no due process, if they think that that's not excessive bail or punishment, they're wrong. That is cruel and intentional, malicious, intentional harm that we're doing to our citizens of this state. So if we're going to give criminals the rights of this, we should give all citizens the same rights. And HOA and condo associations don't have those rights. Freedom of elections. HOA and condo associations do not have free, fair elections. It's just not happening. They use proxies, they cheat. The board knows how to use those proxies. They don't tell you who's in the neighborhood. They won't give you any of the information. That's not free and fair elections. The rights of the accused. Let's look at the rights of the accused. If somebody's accused of something, they have the right to face their accusers and due process and have evidence, and we're not even offered this. We don't have the right to have an impartial tribunal in HOA. The board is jury, judge, and executioner. You don't think that's wrong? I do. We should have a small claims court that actually takes care of HOA things. Fines and fees should not be in the board's hands. They can, do things for past due assessments, but the fines and fees and attorney's fees that they're adding are just insane. The provision of this Constitution are mandatory unless by express words they are declared to be otherwise. So I want the legislators to explain to me why they feel that HOA is above the Constitution, because it is. The fundamental principles. The fundamental principle is essential to the security and the individual right and perpetuity of free government. We don't have that. We don't have any of this in HOA. I mean, look at all these constitutional things that are being violated. Corporations may be formed under normal laws, general laws, but they shall not be created by special acts. All laws relating to corporations may be altered, amended, or repealed by the legislator at any time. So our legislators could take action right now, and they could actually take these corporations and change how those covenants are handled. The legislators have the power, and they refuse to use it. Let's go to Monopolies and Trust. Now, this one I'm using only because we have one group, a trades group, CAI, Community Associations Institute, that has a monopoly on what homeowners' rights are, what the laws are, what the legislation is. They've been running this for years. I consider them a monopoly because we don't have anybody else. Actually, the Secretary of State has them listed as a nonprofit, like educator. They're not. They're a trades group profiting from the demise of the people. They're whining and dining our legislators. Senator Peterson, here's the person that fought for the rights of gay marriage rights, but has tried to do things for homeowners, but has given away our rights in writing the Uniform Act. But he's their legislator of the year. So then I go to look at CAI and what they do. And if you look, here's how many billions of dollars they are making off of homeowners a year. It's trillions of dollars, 9.2 trillion are the value of the homes, 306 billion community associations. Think about that, 103 billion, 25.8 billion. Understand these things because they're telling the legislators that we're all happy with our HOA and condo associations, even though that's not true. They don't protect our property values, and we've already proven that wrong. If you go to who donates to CAI, it is, guess what? All the people that are profiting from the homeowners. So let's look at their, property managers, Agenby, Barker Martin. Barker Martin is who took away my constitutional rights when I asked for due process in my homeowners association. The association reserves, well, the reserve people that do all our reserve inspections that aren't reporting to the city that the buildings aren't up to code are part of CAI, and they're diamond sponsors. Now, CAI is a trades group. You cannot write off your donations to this group. So this nonprofit is a non-taxable benefit. So if your company is going to donate 7,500 plus a year to a nonprofit trades group and have no tax deduction, it doesn't make financial sense. But these people are doing it. And the reason they're doing it is because they're getting something back from it. Then if you go to their advertising and their, everything's supposed to be for the homeowners, you see, their council of choice is Raphael Law Group. Okay, well, let's look at Raphael. Raphael is guess what? He's on the Legislative Action Committee. And he's the board liaison. Now, the chair, Michael Brandt, I've actually worked to, and he says he represents homeowners. How many homeowners does he represent for free? How many does he help for free? I wouldn't think hardly any. And I think that lawyers should be donating a portion of their time. They are maintained, governed, and managed. This is what they believe. So that we should be having standards and managed with sound public policy. The policy that they're pushing is not the same as what they're doing. I have attorneys that do very horrible things to people. They get involved when they shouldn't be involved. Their state level they support effective state regulation that ensures community association housing is developed, maintained, governed, and managed with a sound public policy. What they don't tell you is that, whose public policy? CAI's. So this is what they believe in. Provide for full and fair protection of the consumer, including existing residents in conversion projects. No, they don't, because they've actually taken away our rights for construction. They did that. Let's go over here because I have these. They actually, when they did the condo laws, because the condos were, we're going to go, sorry about that. We're going to go back to these condo laws because they're not doing sound government. They changed the, like the construction laws. You can't sue the corporation because you might hurt the corporation. They've changed all that so that it's harder on the people, which makes no sense again. And this is what I would like to show you. So if you go to here, you'll see that soaring condo costs because they wanted to make a bill that would make it easier to have developers build condos. Well, they took away your rights to hold those developers responsible for their doings. They don't do things right. They want to take shortcuts. They just passed, the Senate bill last year that, 10 units or less don't even have to have inspections or permits. I mean, that is just, you as a consumer will pay in the end. So for their failure to do what they're supposed to do. So they don't promote sound, good laws. They promote what's best for them in doing what they want. And so Senator Peterson had come up with a compromise that allowed condo owners to still bring lawsuits when truly needed. When truly needed is when our homes are leaking. When truly needed is when there's no permits and no inspections. And he wants it not to be a lessening of consumer protections. Anytime you take away people's rights, it's a lessening of consumer protections. And it's allowing the developers to get away with many things. We have townhomes that are being wanting to be built, and we haven't even fixed the laws for the townhomes we have currently. We have housing issues, and we're going to have more homeless issues because of these laws. And without protecting the people, we're just allowing it to continue, which I will not stand still and stay quiet. When I see attorneys violating the laws, they should be held responsible. Let's look at an attorney. So here's the ethics of an attorney. As a public citizen, a lawyer should seek improvement of the law, access to the legal system, the administration of justice, and the quality of service rendered by the legal profession. A lawyer should further the public's understanding of and confidence in the rule of law and justice system, because legal institutions in a constitutional democracy depend on popular participation and support to maintain their authority. A lawyer should be mindful of deficiencies of the administration of justice and the fact that the poor, and sometimes persons who are not poor, cannot afford adequate legal assistance. Homeowners cannot afford to fight their associations. So how are we making this fair and equal? How are we doing what's best for the people if we don't protect their rights, if we are actually giving them permission to do things that they shouldn't be allowed to do by taking shortcuts and by doing by not passing good, sound laws? We are allowing for this to continue. I'm going to show one more thing here. So if you go to this one says that, "Dear Ms. Shafana, I'll be happy to send you a bill." So this is when the Uniform Act was being redone. And I was questioning the constitutional rights of HOAs and if they are violating the Washington State Constitution. And he said, "They are like small governments created by developers and maintained by residents, at least in theory, to preserve and increase the value of the properties that are included in the association. That is one of the reasons that the Uniform Act includes strong disclosure and consumer protection provisions so that purchasers of property in association are on notice about the terms of the association, including potential liabilities for which there may be assessments. The Homeowners Act is deficient on process and would be substantially improved, but in the end, the association would still have the authority to collect assessments to lien properties for failure to pay and to foreclose on those liens." This does not help the people. These are not municipalities. They do not have the right of the municipality. We cannot in Washington State give any corporation the power of the municipality. Homeowners deserve due process. They deserve protections, they deserve governance, and they deserve accountability and penalties in the law if those people violate it. And if we as the people don't stand up and say no more to these legislators that are ignoring our rights for their own personal gain, because that's the only reason I can figure it out. Why would a legislator want to violate the Constitution for anything? The Uniform Acts violate the Washington State Constitution. They cannot be formed by special privileges. They cannot do things. They cannot take away our rights to due process. They don't have that right, and legislators don't have that right to give these rights away. So I want you to really think about these things. I want you to call your legislators, email your legislators, and tell them no more. So I will be meeting with them, and I'll keep you posted on the upcoming legislation. Hopefully this is a short session, so I'm not having very good feelings of the outcomes, because I think that our legislators are skipping steps for the benefit of a trades group. Education should not be coming from Community Association Institute, who has a financial profit from making ADR. How can they be the ADR? They don't have the right to make the laws. They don't have the right to be jury, judge, and executioner. And these attorneys don't have the right to step in and violate the covenants, just as we, the people, don't. Stand up for your rights. Tell the legislators you want change. All right, you guys, I'll see you on the next one.